Hi, everybody. Welcome to Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. My name is Carmen DeValis. I am the founder of Doggies for Dementia, and I welcome you today to our really phenomenal interview with Sophia Heesch, who is out of Friendship Haven in Fort Dodge, Iowa. How's that?
Good.
Yeah. And she is the neighborhood coordinator. Welcome, Sophia.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I think this interview is even more relevant than ever because as we record, we are in the middle of a global pandemic, and which has brought up a crisis for healthcare across the board, but most certainly for our more vulnerable and our elderly and those with dementia, which is why we're really talking about this. And I've spoken with many family members who are really in crises. They're seeing their loved ones decline before their eyes and they're not being able to visit. So families say we're essential and our loved ones are dying of loneliness, and which is happening. And so now we're to the point, let's talk about what's happening in communities. And so I am so grateful for you coming on board and for, all there, because I know you had to get some support from everybody, because this is an important topic. And so welcome, Sophia. And you know what I'm thinking? I think, why don't you tell us a little bit about Friendship Haven so we have an idea where you're coming from?
So Friendship Haven is a very, very big campus. We have townhomes where people live independently. We have independent living apartments. We have assisted living, 3 neighborhoods with assisted living. We have our health center, which has 4 neighborhoods. There's long-term care, skilled, and then the neighborhood that I work in is specifically for memory care.
Mm-hmm.
So really, really big campus, and it takes up quite a bit of space.
Yeah, I bet. It's huge, yeah. Right? It sounds huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
We do have an adult day center as well.
That is incredible. So
there's even a pool here too.
I'm coming for a visit. I'm coming for a visit. There are, so you've got people, then you're taking care of those in the community who do not reside there. That's the day program. And then of course, those at all different levels from independent who might need more too.
Right.
How many are in your particular memory section, your neighborhood?
We have 30, but the neighborhood is split with a sunroom and aviary in the middle. So we have 15 residents on each side. So it kind of gives us the ability to place people in the neighborhood that they might do better in.
Okay.
Each neighborhood has its own personalities. So we try to get our residents mixed in with a group they'll do well with.
Yeah, it's so interesting. This has popped into my head, you know how that goes. One of the myths that I hear people talk about is that people with memory problems, cognitive dementia, the various forms, including Alzheimer's, that they have a vision that they're all going through the very same thing and that it presents the same because they've only known what they've seen, when in truth, it's not at all, right? I mean, no. Individual as we all are.
It's very individualized.
Yeah. So from the care provider point of view, then you need to get to know them and their families.
Especially with our residents, because a lot of times they can't express their needs. So we do a lot of work with the families. We get their backgrounds. We make sure we know their family members' names in case they start talking about, their loved ones. We know where they work. It helps to ease their minds if they're looking for their husband or that type of thing. It just helps with comforting them.
Yeah, those pieces they really are essential. You gotta know that stuff and be able to, and what a difference that makes for families that are there. Yeah, which also means, I'm sure you're working with people further down the, higher stages of dementia. Yes. And so that's also, for some, it's getting close to end of life. And during a pandemic, I can't even imagine what that would be like for families. But I know you've had some experience with that, yes?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I know you said that you've had funerals or you have funerals to go to. And my thought was, I don't know if the average, I'm talking to American, but the average person realizes that when there's a loss in a community, your family too. And
Mhm.
it's, you go to the memorials and funerals as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. That's an important part. Um, you just get really, really close with everybody,
yeah,
and it's super hard.
yeah. Yeah, I often went to, and yeah, it was hard. And almost at some level, even though that no matter how it wasn't anything we did, it's that they're
Right.
elderly and they had it, and I would still go, gosh, I wonder if there was anything I could do. And
Yes.
families then when they would come up and go, well, thank you so much, I realized some of the smaller things I did really meant so much.
Yes. And it's nice. All of our families are really, really, they've been great and super appreciative of, what we're doing to keep their loved ones safe, and the work that we put in to connect them with their families still is we do quite a lot of.
Yeah.
Shit.
So I want to talk about that for sure. So let's just kind of start in the very beginning, because I do believe that the whole how intense the situation has become with COVID is more than we could ever imagine. Haven't lived through it.
Yes.
So how did it begin for you guys? What was it like?
We started having meetings about it, and then right away we had a plan in place with, masks and PPE, and we kind of started locking down to working in place in just our neighborhoods. So we had meetings, over Zoom or that type of thing. And then the first big step was getting everybody screened. We had to do all the screening, and we were screening visitors at that time. And then shortly after we had, it was in March, that's when we shut our doors. We had, it was at noon, and I can't remember what the date was, but it was early March, and that was the last visitor that we had
Yeah.
in.
So the screening you're talking about is like temperature and the
Yep.
questions and things. Yeah. So
Hmm.
was COVID testing done at all then?
We've done it once as a big campus, but then if there's any um, other reason, we'll do other areas on campus. But starting the 8th, actually, we're going to be doing testing 2 times a week or 1 time a week, depending on Webster County's positivity rate. So
Right.
we're starting that on Tuesday. So I'll be tested on Tuesday.
Is that for staff and residents or?
Right now, just for staff, but if there would be a positive, then we would go ahead and do the residents
I
of
see.
that neighborhood as well.
Right, right. And so as of right now, then families are able to visit. What's the status right now?
So we're doing outdoor visits, which are really, really nice. The families call and schedule, and then they get to spend time with their loved ones 2 times a week. And then we do compassionate care visits. Seems like we've done a few of those recently.
Yeah.
But the nice part about those is the residents are, it's not like they have to be, bed bound, no longer responding or speaking. It's when our nurses determine that a resident is actively dying, then our administrator will listen to what, the nurses say
Uh-huh.
and get families in quick so that they're able to have, a little bit of time before they do go into that unresponsive state.
Yeah.
So I think that's been helpful for the families and for, the residents, and just for the staff to see that they're not alone or not getting to see their families. That's been huge for us.
Yeah, I'd say that's really nothing short of a miracle for families to be able to be there.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so the outdoor visits are, how is that? Is there plexiglass or a barrier?
Nope.
Or?
They just sit, we have this really nice patio out in the front with shade. So they sit there and the visitors wear masks. Our residents wear masks if they choose to, but that's a,
So,
that's a hit or miss.
okay, so tell us why that's difficult. Some people may not know, so why would that be a problem, Sophia?
Well, our residents they do as they please, and we are not going to we would never win. I mean, it would be an endless battle. There's
a lot of agitation.
They don't care about masks. They don't care about COVID. They don't care about any of it.
They're not aware of it. No.
We just make sure we're on top of our PPE and we're wearing our stuff, and the visitors are really good about it. We do sanitizing before and after, and just a lot of steps.
A lot of steps. And then do you need to schedule those, or do they just show up and say, hey, I'm here, I want to visit? Because does a staff member need to be with them?
We do. I schedule them all, so I make sure they have enough time. I don't like people to be rushed, and depending on the family and the resident, I know how long the visit will be. And then we do have a staff member with, and a lot of times with dementia, the families have found that helps, because sometimes, it helps to flow the conversation.
Right.
Their loved one might not be as verbal, so it just kind of helps.
Right.
They can have a staff member there. Plus, some of our residents just need a little extra supervision outside. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I could see where some would just stand up and leave, not realizing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, see you later. And
had enough of this, I'm leaving.
yeah, that's been a nice visit, must go. Yeah. Even so, it's like, I have a friend who had a kind of mixed dementia and vascular, I think pretty heavy on vascular, and then Alzheimer's. And he often said when he was he called it a fog, and when he was in his fog, he didn't know where he was or who he was around, or wasn't aware. And but he always remembered what it felt when the people were around him, and whether if it was scared, or if a person was frightened about what was happening, or if they were just loving and calm and comforting, or having fun, and laughing and just acting like nothing is unusual. But that feeling was there. And, I always remember that, because what it might appear to us may not be actually what is happening on the inside.
Yes.
For the residents, for the person with dementia. And so when families say, I don't even think they knew I was here, I'm like, you just never know.
Exactly. That's the thing, is you really never know.
Yeah, just never know. Yeah. And, I think it's gotten really, I would say one of the difficult thing for me would be not being able to hug or touch. So
yeah,
how is, I don't know, what do you do with that?
It's really, really hard, especially with the ones that are more mobile.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Really hard. Yeah.
Sometimes, you can't, the families are really, really good about it. But sometimes they're quick, and it can happen, but the families help a lot with that.
That's really good.
It's good, because I don't know if we would, it's hard for us, because we want them to hug them too. So it's really nice that our families are supportive like that, because I know we struggle with that type.
You guys aren't the enemy.
No.
And I do know there are some families that have had bad experiences, however, and I've heard of that. And so when I hear good experiences, which most are really understanding, it's the communication that makes the difference.
Yes.
If they can
That's
call, huge. And so y'all are doing that wonderfully, because people can call and get an answer, or I think you guys are using some electronic means too, or at least for the families to see. Yeah, because I know that it can be tough for a person with dementia to see someone in an iPad and go, what is it? Or a phone, it doesn't doesn't always make sense.
I've noticed the bigger the screen, the better. So we don't usually do iPads or phones. We'll do a laptop. And
Uh-huh.
that, I've been really surprised at how well they've
Oh,
have taken to that form, because just like, you know, dementia, everybody's different. The way that they can communicate with their family is different too. Some people absolutely could not handle an outdoor visit, whereas some people can. Window visits, not a lot of them have a preference for that. But
let's talk about that too. Well, I think, you know, along with dementia and elderly, the vision problems. So I can
yes,
certainly see the bigger the better screen, and it's so common sense. And yet I see people without phones, and we just don't think about it, that
yeah, those don't work.
that's not going to work, or, you know, for most. And it might even be scary to hear the voice
Yes.
and not see the
Well, it's
person.
really confusing. A lot of them will tap the screen and they'll say,
Yeah.
get in there.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. I mean, they've never seen anything like this before anyways. So
No.
and what are you doing in the screen? Lots
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
things. So we sanitize computers and
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I've got a TV screen. If you could wire, you know, like wire it through too, that might be good for people with,
we
uh,
definitely could.
yeah, because that would be, because they're used to watching TV too.
Mm-hmm.
But to have a laptop close, that's good. I know I was just going to ask, oh, about
Window visits.
window visits. Yeah. So, you know, social media has posted some things and people at the window, and it is so touching. And I thought, whoa, send out the alert, because there's someone with dementia. Tell me how that worked out, Sophia. Let's talk
Well,
about that.
it works for some of our residents that aren't as far into their disease process, but that's
Mhm.
not very many people. Some people, it completely freaks them out, because if somebody's standing at your window, even if it is your family member, they might not recognize them just because of the window, because of their vision. And it just, there's not very many that can do them. We use them as a last resort. If
Mhm.
in isolation or that type of thing, we would do a window visit just to keep them in contact, but a video is always better.
Always
It's just,
better.
some of them just want to leave. They just get up and leave, and their family's like, hey,
I'm here at the window. Yeah,
no,
it's
they're not
100 degrees. interested. Yeah, it's 100
Not
degrees
interested.
out here. Yeah, I
Uh,
thought, like, how would I respond if someone came to my window with a mask on sometimes? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, who's at my window? It would be really
yeah,
scary. And yeah,
yes,
I saw that and I thought, ooh, I don't know about that. For maybe for
no,
independent living and assisted, but memory care, that's a slippery slope.
right. You have to
Yeah,
get even more creative with
yeah,
our residents over here. Just, it's all about knowing them and what works for them. So you really just have to know every single person.
yeah.
Another
So,
thing we do though, I mean, just because we think we know doesn't always mean we know. So we do a lot of trial and error as well. So,
well, and what's good Monday may not be good Friday, you
yep.
know?
Or what's good at noon might not be good at 2.
Well, right, right. And you'll know, you kind of have an idea what, like if there's sundowning, you know, or things
Yes.
kind of get worse in the afternoon, evening, everything's going to
Yep.
happen in the morning,
We
which is
do a
often,
lot of we do a lot of our visits in the morning for that reason. It just
yeah.
seems to work better.
Yeah, so a lot of the communities I'm aware of, and I think, I know we've talked about this, but I've 40 years in healthcare, nurse practitioner, the last 20, and that makes me feel so old, but it's true. And, you know, I understand the communities that the administration and the healthcare and the communities are faced with the federal, state, corporate, and then also trying to really, they love their residents and want to take care of them and want to do right by the families and by everybody, because it's not just physical health. We're looking at mental health, spiritual health, and all of that, which is
Yes.
equally as important, and how they're balancing it all. And you know, I wonder if you have just, you know, like a few points of advice, what for families, and maybe what to ask for from their communities to help make it a little bit better. And I think we've
I would
touched on a few things, but I'd be
say
interested.
my first would be that if they're not getting phone calls with any sort of change in their health or, you know, like even a bruise, we call for a bruise, which our nurses are on the phone quite a bit. Just
Yeah.
because, you know, there's always something going on. They'll call for, you know, if you get a hole in your shirt, we're going to call the family and let them know. So I think just the more that you communicate or ask for communication or push for communication, the better you'll feel and you won't feel so surprised. And another thing would be pictures. I think that's huge. Requesting pictures. That's something I do a lot of. We did quarantine haircuts. So we did a lot of before and after pictures, and the families loved that.
I love
It was
that.
so much fun. It was
I
so
love
fun.
that. Well,
We
you know, I'm all about
accidentally, we cut some of the men's hair a little short, but it's perfect now.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, hair grows. So
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
love, like before and after. So that's cute.
Yeah,
And
it was really fun.
yeah, I really love that too. The suggestion of calling for just about anything you can, because what that gives is a sense of security, knowing then, and that's it's also triggers that understanding that okay, they've got my back too. They're my eyes
Right.
and ears. Trust in that a little bit more, because that is a huge thing for families. Like what's happening now,
Yes.
you can't see. And so that, and I do know too, some communities are, you know, staff members have left and or they've become ill and need to take those 2 or 3 weeks without, you know, or the quarantine or if they're exposed. And so they're working on shorter staff and trying to really up their game with family care.
Yes.
And that's a calamity, you know, for those who are there, and then they get worn down too. And
Yes, it's just a revolving, there's no way to combat that. It's almost like you can't win sometimes. It's just keeps
you know,
around.
I just had a thought because I have people ask me, like, how can I volunteer to help? And I just wondered if maybe some of the lighter phone calls about like a daily update wouldn't be something a volunteer could do, you know, when there isn't something that needs to be discussed per se.
Right.
Just as an update.
We're still not getting, you know, volunteers in yet. We used to have some, but we haven't got there quite yet. I'm thinking though, I mean, it seems like we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's just the guidelines and the phases and the cost. I mean, this testing that we're going to do, Friendship Haven is a nonprofit. So this testing, I mean, I think they were saying $40 a test, and we got, I can't remember how much we were given, not very many.
Right.
So that's going to be expensive.
Wow.
It's just something that we have to, it's not an option.
Right. Yeah. So, wow. Yeah. So the expense is another piece. And as a nonprofit, you're relying on your grants and donations and such. I get that. I really get that. I'm not a Friendship Haven. We're not that big, but yeah. And all nonprofits are as well as other businesses not all, but most are taking a hit during this in ways unfathomable and unpredictable. No one predicted this year. So,
but it has, I mean, even with all the expenses, we've had some things on top of that happen in, you know, like building wise that we've had to take care of, which is another huge hit, but
yeah.
We'll have all the PPE we could ever need. We have all the N95s, the gowns, anything we could need. It did give all of us a 10% raise for as long as they could sustain, which was really awesome.
Yeah. Because you're doing a lot more. Yeah.
They just gave us a bonus, you know, last week, and they're doing our executive team takes very good care of everybody that works here.
Yeah, you know, the smart thing, if you take good care of those who are there and who are doing their job great, then the problem of staff leaving and attrition and all that is no longer a worry, because that's very expensive to replace staff members in the midst of the pandemic. That is crisis mode for who's left there to care for your residents. Yeah.
So we still have, I mean, we don't use any outside staffing agencies at all. We just stick to our own staff. And, you know, we do have staffing challenges, but we are, I mean, to me, I would prefer to have 5 CNAs for 30 residents as, you know, opposed to 4, but that's pretty, you know, good staffing for a lot of long-term care facilities. And then on top of that, you know, we have a huge activity team with companions and people that spend one-on-one time. We have nurses, we have our own restorative program and journeys. So we have so many people, but, you know, you always want to say that, you know, staffing can be an issue. It could be so much worse. And we're able to meet our residents' needs with just Friendship Haven staff, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer too, if your systems and your people are in place, that when crises happen, you can still respond in a great way. But when things are already a little shaky and not quite in the best place, like somewhere in transition, and you know how that goes, in transition things change, and then this happened, and it's just overwhelmingly difficult. And
I've been amazed with the response of, we call it our perseverance plan. So, I mean, each time there's a change, which is almost every other day, they already have a whole plan put in place that we push out and communicate to everybody, and it just goes smooth. I mean, there's always bumps, but for the most part, I mean, everything's very well thought out. And it's been helpful for us and staff, so they know it's almost like they know what to expect, and it's not up in the air.
Yeah,
we're all on the same page, and that's been huge.
Really, really huge. Yeah. So those are some of those systems that you guys had ready to go from the get-go, and so communication and things. You know, I really think it's some of the simpler things in life that make the biggest difference in business too. You know, your people in place, your purpose, your mission, and your systems. What are we going to do every day? And then, you know, to what happens when something changes, your system.
Right.
What happens? Yeah. What a big thing. So one last question I have for you before a different one. What happens if one of your caregivers is sick or exposed to someone who tests positive? Because that comes up too.
Yes. We have a system for that as well. The first thing would be they would let me know, and then I pass that information along to our DON, and she will, typically what she does is exposure, you're automatically off for 14 days. You know, it's just the way it is. If you have symptoms, she'll have you go get tested, and then if you're negative, you know, you need a different diagnosis, but you still can't come back until those symptoms are gone. So, and they do, people that are off for symptoms, exposure, or positive test are still paid.
Wow.
So I think that's been huge because it helps people be honest with their symptoms.
Yeah.
So we don't have, you know, sick people coming to work.
Yeah. Yeah, with the way some of the paid time off is done, if you needed time off for, I don't know, the birth of a baby or, you know, sick family member, and, you know, little day here and there, pretty soon your PTO is down to very little. And I know the thought is like, okay, if I call in sick, I'm leaving my fellow staff members, they're shorthanded. And some places even write people up for being, you know, for sick days. They're taking another sick day or a day off and short notice. And then they're not getting paid, or they have to use PTO that they're going to need for something else. And then they have to go to a doctor on top of that. And pay that too. So the thing is, well, I'll just go in and it'll probably pass, you know, and people come in sick, right? But that cannot happen now, because that sickness it could be COVID, and that even the other things can be deadly to people, but I know now we're much more aware of that. Definitely. Yeah. I don't know, people like I've been for like 40 years, right? So what happened 40 years ago may not be going on now, but oh my gosh, what changes in healthcare in this.
I know.
I could have never thought about this.
Something different every day.
Yeah. Well, I always like to wrap up with a like a fun question so we can all get to know you better. And I'm really grateful for your conversation today. So a question is there anything on your, no, what's the top thing on your bucket list?
Oh man, that's a good question. I would say the top thing on my bucket list would be, I've always wanted to, this was actually my husband's idea. He wants to get on this, I guess I've never even heard of it, a train, and it goes through the Swiss out, like the mountains, all through that, and you just ride on this train. And I have agreed to do that. I think that would be so much fun.
I think so too.
All of that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know when that'll ever happen, but it's a bucket list. So I have hopefully like 60 years to
plan that one. God willing, you have a lot of time, right?
Yes.
And, yeah. And you have so you have family, yes? You have children?
I have a little girl. Her name's Isabella. She's Izzy. She's 9.
Oh my gosh. I was going to name a daughter Isabella if I had a daughter. It's my great-grandmother's name. So I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you have any concerns about being in healthcare with a child at home?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
She thinks I work too much, but she knows. She used to come here with me all the time. She would do activities. I'd have her sitting with people that needed some extra attention.
Yeah.
I'm doing lots of stuff, and she was good at it, but she knows that,
not right now.
I have a very important job, so no, I
good.
don't worry about it at all.
Yeah. I think those exposed to COVID, it's a whole, actively, it's a whole different scene.
Right. I mean, and she's in school now, so.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah.
They wear masks and she doesn't seem to mind it.
Really? Wow.
Kids are resilient.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for being our guest today. And I can't wait to get this out. This is so relevant in our time. And I know we've all learned at least one thing, and I think probably many, about living, a good life and doing things the best. And this pandemic has put it front and center for us, our values, right? Let's talk about our values. And you guys are living your values, and that's a beautiful thing. So, yeah. Oh, hold on. Wait a second. I've got my, yeah. I'm not sure you can hear that or not, but those are my applause.
I can hear that.
Oh,
I thought you were ripping a piece of paper for a minute there.
It's the applause. Yeah. Yeah. There's just so much seriousness in the world. I just have to lighten it up a little bit. Yeah. So that's a great way to close, though. So thanks again. And I look forward to having you as a guest again, because I already have more questions.
Oh, good. Thank you. I had fun.
Yeah.
I'll do it again anytime.
Okay. All right. Well, take care. Bye-bye, everybody. And thank you for watching.